Imagine the impact of getting your land taken off you. For 50 years, Scottish people lived in poverty. Scotland in the 1800s was a place where children were alone on the streets, their land taken away from them by the more fortunate. It was a place of poverty. Where could they go to have a better life? The land of plenty, perhaps. But why would they come to New Zealand? And what made them want to leave? During the 1800s, people from Scotland had to move to New Zealand because of poverty. The Scottish believed that they could start a better life in a new country. 20% of the immigrants to New Zealand between 1840 and 1950 were Scottish. They also came to New Zealand because it was hard to buy land, because in Scotland, upper-class citizens owned it, because they had a lot more power. Scottish also chose to come here because it was a better life for them and their families. Children often died sooner, but if they came to New Zealand, they would have a better health and wealth. But what impact did the Scots have here in New Zealand? When the Scottish arrived in New Zealand, they helped build the nation as farmers, engineers, social reformers, businessmen and politicians. Most Scottish settled in the South Island and tried as hard as possible to maintain the Scottish culture and traditions. Some things like bagpipes and pipe bands are still part of the Scottish New Zealand culture today. Also, Burns Supper, which is a celebration of the life and poetry of Robert Burns. What made the Scottish different from everyone else in New Zealand? The main thing that made the Scottish different from the other people in New Zealand was mainly the clothes they wore and their culture. Women usually wore long dresses that reached the ground with a crisscross cardigan. Men wore a blouse with a bow tie, a jacket and a kilt, which is the traditional skirt of Scotland, with long socks and some shoes. Their accents also made them different. You could always tell if someone was Scottish from their accent. They also ate haggis, which is sheep's liver stuffed with mince. Why did Scottish come to New Zealand and not somewhere else? Scottish chose to come to New Zealand because they heard it was the land of plenty. They had seen on the posters there was plenty of free land and a lot of job opportunities. From 1853 to 1870, Scottish came in large numbers to overpower England and New Zealand.